Hey everyone, it's QuickyBaby and welcome back to World of Tanks. And as I promised you a couple of weeks ago, I was going to get my hands on the buffed E50 and update 1.10.1, put it through its paces and give you my opinion about the E50M and whether it is actually relevant in 2020. And I can tell you, having played it with its buffed turret armor, that it certainly is a lot better than it was. Now, the only thing that's changed about the E50 is the fact that the front of the turret has gone from 185mm of thickness up to 250, but importantly, the side of the turret, these kind of cheeks when you're facing it from the front, to the left and to the right, have gone from 80mm up to 150. Now this makes a huge difference to the vehicle's turret armor. Previously, pretty much all armor-piercing rounds would go through the front of the turret if it hit to the left or to the right of the gun and avoided the kind of tiny little mantlet that the E50M has. Now, the vehicle can actually bounce those rounds. This is especially useful against Tier 8 and Tier 9 tanks. The cheeks now will be able to bounce all heat ammunition as long as you're facing your gun directly towards your opponents, which exaggerates the angle of the new 150mm thickness, and that allows you to not consistently bounce Tier 10 gold ammunition, but what it does is it gives you this amazing amount of confidence. It allows you to feel that you can sit in front of your enemy tanks, and previously I wouldn't want to fight an Object 430U hull down, and I could tell you, even in this patch, I don't want to fight the 430U hull down. But you feel like you've got a chance. I've gone up there to an aggressive position using the mobility of the vehicle, taken a couple of chunks out of the Soviet tanks, taken a couple of chunks out against the Leopard prototype. I've asked the AMX 1390 to fall back, by the way, so whether he decides to fall back or not is his decision. But you can clearly see right there I asked the 1390 to fall back to try and save him. Just give him that heads up that, yeah, I can't really hold that flank against 5 vehicles, even if the turret armor has been buffed. But it's this confidence that I have in the tank now that really makes the difference. I'm willing to sit there on a ridgeline against my opponents. And previously, that's something that the E50M could never do. Previously, the E50M, before update 1.10.1, was purely a side-scraping monster that would try and pressure its opponents with some freaky armor layout to be able to maybe force them to bounce, and then hopefully you could just be a little bit consistent, and more importantly, it's about sniping at long range. Now the E50M feels like you can actually go toe-to-toe with turret-armored tanks. You might have to load a bit of heat to go through their turrets, as their turrets are better than yours, but really they're going to have to do the same thing against you now. And the E50M allows you to now make more aggressive, confident plays down the ridge lines, and that is how I have been enjoying this vehicle so much more. I'm not going to say that it's now my favorite medium tank, that's definitely not the case. It just doesn't quite have that damage per minute for me. It's at 2,437 with a rate of fire of 6.25 rounds a minute. That's awful. It's the same as the 121, even though the 121 just deals more damage than it. Way worse than the Leopard prototype. Sorry, not the Leopard prototype, the Leopard 1 at tier 10 as well, even though the Leopard just has more alpha damage. It's not my kind of vehicle, but maybe it will be yours. And I don't think I'm ever going to be able to call this tank weak again, as you're going to see in the couple of games that we're going to be playing in it. Alright, so we've managed to set up a wonderful crossfire on our opponents here. I honestly feel like I did a huge amount in that engagement by going up into the center, dissuading the enemies, well, kind of holding them up there, falling back, and becoming that kind of second line of defense. I asked my team to fall back, they didn't all manage to, but I gave time for, in my opinion, these, the kind of players who are just going to hold their W key and go towards the southwest of this map and just grind through the opponents there. There's no use in going on the south of Empire's border unless you also contest the area towards the center. It's the most important place to contest. And I think my team can be very thankful to me that I managed to lock those opponents down there, which gave them time to be able to flank around, and then we caught them in a good pincer. But it's a team game, right? And I can sit here and be frustrated about how people have chosen to play the map, or I can try and accept it and do what I can to be able to amplify their impact in the game and to give us the highest chance of being able to take this one down. That's exactly what we've done there. And what you're seeing right now is that while the E50M doesn't have its damage per minute, it does have a couple of other good things. Firstly, a great accuracy. Secondly, yeah, enough armor to be able to bounce that T-54 lightweight, ram him to death, while still using all of our rounds against the ST1, reverse into position to be able to avoid the fire now coming from the auto-loading Swedish heavy tank behind me, finish off the ST1, and then trundle towards the Emil as well. If you can master your German armor, always thinking about where the threats are going to be and how to side-scrape effectively and get yourself into a position where you're going to mitigate as much of the damage as possible, it's really good to have those hit points saved up for the end of the battle. And while my team are going to cap out, I'm going to put that final round into the Emil to give him that little bit of extra repair cost and push my damage total a little bit higher. But today is a double helping of gameplay, so let's see how the E50M is going to compete also on Ensk. So you've seen how the new turret armor on this tank allows you to make more confident plays, playing aggressively on ridgelines on Empire's border. But now I want to show you one of my better games in the E50M during the play session that I had quite a lot of over the last couple of weeks. I played this tank a lot just to try and really get to terms with it. I also tried to get my third mark of excellence in this vehicle, and while I got very close, I think I got up to about 94.6 or 94.7%. I didn't quite manage to get it after I had a pretty bad session in the vehicle. Maybe next time. Maybe I'll get it next time in the E50M when I can have a little bit of patience. But I can tell you what, after playing it for a while, yeah, I realized this isn't really my cup of tea. And I vastly prefer playing vehicles that are a little bit faster and forego some of the armor to be able to have a little bit more aggression. Nevertheless, can you imagine an E50M sitting in a position like this? Most of the time, the 430U would just load heat and be able to just fire pretty much all of my tank. But by wedging my armor up here, well, like I was previously, and there I go again, hiding my lower plate, we are now giving it to all of the vehicles sitting in front of me. Don't really want to sit in front of that 4005, and luckily he does avoid, I do manage to avoid his shell. But just in this kind of a position, you can do so many more things in the E50M, and it's that confidence that I developed in the tank which really allowed me to elevate my win ratio in this vehicle, and also the amount of damage that I was doing per game. And now that the 430U's turret has been nerfed, am I going to be able to take advantage of that at all? I'm looking for it, not able to quite get it. I'm going to try and shoot one at the 4005, and I'm actually going to loop one underneath what looks like the oil tankers there, or the fuel tankers, to be able to put a round into him. Now, I try to actually track the T125 there to try and lock him out in the open for all of my friends that you can see behind me, but I actually miss his tracks, so some poor marksmanship there. But we are going toe-to-toe with a 430U and toe-to-toe with a T125 right now. Now, this is really where this tank is going to struggle. Remember, we've got a terrible rate of fire. We've got a way worse rate of fire than the T125 has, and I've also got 10 less alpha damage than him. And so that is going to allow him to get multiple shots into us, and we're going to have to lose 800 hit points to the T125. But you know what? We're also going to get the T125 completely out the game. So while I don't like giving 800 hit points to anyone, if I'm going to give 800 hit points for an entire 2,200 hit point tier 10 tank, yeah, I can think about making worse trades in World of Tanks. Alright, so FB4005, they've buffed the turret armor on this tank a little bit. Still definitely don't want to be sitting in front of that thing. I'm thinking about locking down his tracks right now, but it's just not quite working out for us. There we go. I should have the shot. No, it actually went high. And even though this vehicle's got an impressive 0.3 accuracy, we're still unable to be able to hit a shell in there. Okay, so you see that I've actually dabbed the 3 key once. So I'm going to put 1 AP round in, ram him for 165, take no damage in the ram, and then I'm going to put a high explosive round through the cheeks as well for 471. Now, the high explosive rounds on this tank will do 500 damage on average, so I was fairly confident with that engagement there, and that is what the E50M is all about. But oh god, there's a TVP, the ultimate counter for this tank. Okay, bud, you go off, you go do your own thing. Maybe he was just more terrified and running away from the Object 279E. I don't want to get hit by the artillery from behind. I'm happy that the TVP has gone off to do other things, and so I'm going to chunk down that IS-7 and now turn my attention as well to the Progetto and the TVP T50/51. Alright, so Progetto on my right, autoloader. TVP on my left, another autoloader as well. I'm looking for that Progetto, and I actually lose track of the TVP, and I lose 300 hit points. Luckily, my quick reactions mean that I'm able to kill him before he has his 1.5 second intra-clip reload, and we shut down the Progetto as well. But not too happy about that. I've lost 670 hit points there with those couple of shells, and that means that we're in a very awkward scenario. and that is that I'm now a one-shot in this game. Incredibly frustrating to be a one-shot here against vehicles like 2 Mouse tanks, the T-95 on the enemy team, the Leopard, the Object 140, the T-124. And I think I was very frustrated with myself there that I actually threw away those hit points, because it's not very good when you're a one-shot anymore. Am I going to be able to win this game? It's going to be definitely tough with only a single shot. And against, look at all of these scary vehicles on the enemy team. We've got a full health Mouse who's actually buffed up his hit points to 3,300. That is scary. I've got to watch out for the Leopard here, but I'm also going to shoot at the Mouse. And wow, watch out for the Leopard. Doesn't look like I quite realized it at the time. I got lucky there that the gold round only tracked me. Doesn't look like it hit my hull armor. And that Leopard is healthy as well at 1,540 hit points. I'm wondering if the Leopard's going to come around the corner here. Right now, that Leopard's just slowing us down, slowing the 113 down, who's on full hit points, so should be pretty much pushing that Leopard. And right now, the enemy team are crunching through my 279E with an Object 140 who's also on high hit points in the corner of the map. So I put one more round into the Leopard, look for a shell into the T-124. Our heat round goes through the side of the turreted American tank destroyer's armor. Now I'm going to turn my attention to the Object 140, and there we go! Picking up our 5th kill of the game, and now up to 6,600 damage in 5 minutes. For a vehicle with low DPM and no autoloader, this has been a cracking round of World of Tanks so far. And here comes the Leopard round the corner. Get ready for him. One into his tank. Bounce his shell. Actually, don't bounce his shell. We'll bounce a shell from the Donkerer, the Fate Chieftain on the enemy team. And I felt like I would have the better rate of fire because I have my adrenaline rush going right now on my loader. So I have 10% increased 10% reduced reload speed. I'm also using chocolate on this tank. I also had bounty equipment on the vehicle because I was playing it a lot. And with that kill on the Leopard, it's starting to look like it's a little bit better right up until, yeah, the Object 140 falls. And I'm hoping this 113 can distract the T-124 for just long enough for me to come around the corner and hopefully put in a shot into his cheeks. The shell goes to the right. Unfortunate. Doesn't hit the flush part of the T-124. And right now, I have to side scrape into a dirty, horrible situation. Now, in this kind of situation, the E50M, with its new turret armor, is probably going to bounce the Mouse the vast majority of the times. And also, by angling my armor like this, the whole of my side armor will be an auto ricochet, and my upper hull will be mostly a ricochet as well, unless the enemy Mouse is firing some gold. So let's see how the E50M is going to side scrape here. Oh. Yeah, not quite what I wanted. We actually get penetrated by a standard round here, and I was completely baffled. How did the Mouse actually manage to penetrate us in the side armor? And I actually went into battle hit. I watched this one back. Unfortunately, I didn't manage to take a screenshot at the time, and I can't get it working again now. But I will show you exactly how. Oh, that's the old E50M. This is the new E50M. So I'll show you exactly versus, should we compare it to a Mouse? And I'll show you what kind of chance we had there. Because I was absolutely baffled at the time as to how that vehicle managed to penetrate me with standard rounds. So look at this. If we're side scraping against the Mouse here, using our side scraping ability absolutely perfectly, then the whole of our upper hull, he's got a 30% chance to go through that. He's got maybe a 30 or 40% chance to go through the turret. But remember, I was actually angling my armor upwards a little bit. So right now we would have even better turret protection against the Mouse. And the whole of my upper hull would be a ricochet apart from 0.01% of the time. Maybe he won the lottery. Our turret armor, he didn't hit our turret. Where he actually hit was under the side flaps of this vehicle. And it has 40 millimeters of armor still there. So that means that all 121 millimeter caliber guns and larger, and remember that the Mouse has a 128 millimeter caliber gun, that he is going to be able to overmatch. And that's exactly what he did. He hit 1 or 2 pixels down the side of my tank where the shell would impact the thin underflap armor of the E50M, and the Mouse managed to overmatch it. Yeah, a bit of a heartbreak there. Was really hoping I could get stuck in this one, and I was excited about that ends game. So our first round on Empire's border was an ace tanker, and we actually managed to block a significant amount of damage here. 1,550, the turret really showing its strength. But we didn't get a high caliber, and that's because there was a chieftain who managed to get 7,000 damage. So while, yeah, the E50M has definitely been buffed, it hasn't been buffed as much as the chieftain is currently, right? So next up on Ensk, this was an ace tanker for a defeat as we got a high caliber and a Top Gun medal here for the 7,300 damage that we dealt. We went down swinging. But congratulations to the mouse platoon on the enemy team. They did 8,000 damage between them and they killed half of our team. So GG, well played. Who would have thought that the mouse is still an absolute cracking vehicle on a small map like Ensk? And in both of these games, we made a decent profit with or without a premium account. Although I was running a credit booster, so I guess I wouldn't if I hadn't. So to conclude, the E50M with the new turret armor allows you to be so much more confident on a ridge line. And let's be honest, strength inside a turret armor is probably one of the most important aspects of World of Tanks. You could have an absolute awful hull, but a great turret, and you could still do very well. Now, the E50M doesn't really have the weakest of hulls, and it definitely doesn't have the weakest of turrets in the game, although it still does have fairly big weak points on top, and also all standard rounds have got about a 50% chance to be able to go through the turret, and gold rounds are going to be able to go all the way through the front, but at least they're no longer going to be able to go through the side, which is just a massive buff for the vehicle. When you take into account that the E50M was still doing very well before the buff, this is a significant advance for the E50M. And so if you have one of these inside your garage, it definitely is worth dusting it off. However, if like me, you like to have a little bit more firepower with either higher alpha damage, or you want to have a better DPM, or you want to have an autoloader, or you want to have a bit more than the 8 degrees of gun depression this tank has, I think that there are better tier 10 mediums. And I'd say congratulations to Wargaming on buffing this vehicle to make it more competitive in the game currently, without making it just flat out overpowered. The only thing that I would say about the vehicle is, do we really need to have such good armor on everything? And it really draws attention that if I show you the way that the armor layout works for the E50M, let's imagine you're getting fired at by standard rounds. Yeah, against standard rounds, not too much is going to work against this vehicle. You're going to have a very good chance, 30% or 55% of being able to pen the turret. But look what happens as soon as you load the gold. If you load the gold, yeah, now the upper hull is an easy pen and the turret armor is practically 90%. So if that's not just the biggest in your face of whether you should fire heat at the E50M, I don't know. Previously, it was possible to penetrate the vehicle without. Now it's almost mandatory to fire gold at the E50M. So E50M drivers out there, rejoice. Gold noobs, it's probably not going to change the meta for you a little bit when you're firing at this thing. But all of you free-to-play players out there, watch out. The E50M is coming for you. Anyway, ladies and gents, boys and girls, that was it for today. Hopefully you enjoyed this one. If you did, give it a thumbs up. But if you hated it, give it a thumbs down. And if you're watching this video as it's released on Sunday, I have a super special stream right now on twitch.tv/QuickyBaby, where Wargaming have activated drops on my Twitch account, which means that you have a chance just by tuning into the stream today to either be able to get stimulant packs if you are wanting to progress a little bit with the Murney 13 mode, or alternatively, get some of the unique Halloween 3-day styles. And no, I'm not talking about the ones that you can just get for playing the Murney game mode, but the ones that cost you about 6,000 gold in the garage for the Panther 2, the E50, the E50M, or the Leopard. I'm not going to say that it's going to be guaranteed if you watch the stream today. It's an epic drop and you get lucky, but hopefully you're going to come for the content, right? And today I'm also going to be doing a tech tree showcase on the Badger, as it's going to be top of the tree starting next week. And so if you want to see me play the highest possible DPM in the game on the tier 9 Tortoise and on the tier 10 Badger for those British TDs, then come along right now. I've got you covered and I'll give you my tips and tricks along the way. And so I'm really looking forward to seeing all of you right now on twitch.tv/QuickyBaby. And as always, thank you so much for watching. You've been epic and hopefully I'll see you soon.